Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. 4 to 5 business owners are experiencing mental health issues. We're under stress, tremendous amount of anxiety. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker with WowBiz Nebraska. I've got a special guest for you today, a life coach who's going to give us insight as to how this whole situation can be alleviated. We can ease our way out of COVID and have a great 2022. Thanks again for watching. And of course, I want to say hi to my good friend, my old buddy, Ed Green, life coach. Thank you for being here with me today.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lynn. Great to be here.
Great to see you again. And of course, every time we chat, we always seem to uncover some profundity, shall we say,
yes,
that help us both enjoy the quality of our lives. But let's talk for a little bit about life coaching. And a giant recently passed away that we both have keep track of. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Bob Proctor and your relationship with him, if you don't mind?
Yeah. Bob Proctor has been a giant in the world of coaching and training and people, self-help gurus, and he definitely had an influence on my life.
Yeah. Now tell me, how did he? Have you been watching him on YouTube over the last few years, or did you go to a seminar or whatever? What role did he really play, and what was the fundamental thing you learned from the man?
Sure. Well, I became aware of Bob, and I was lucky enough to get involved in his mentoring program.
Okay.
And at the time, I was struggling financially. Yeah. And I remember talking to his representative, and when he mentioned the price of being in the mentorship, my immediate thought was, there's no way
I'm way out of it. Yeah.
That. So the gentleman talked about, like, his son wanted to buy a new bike and didn't have the money, and he said, well, he encouraged his son to consider ways to find the money. You know, maybe start a paper route, this and the next thing. Sure. So at the time, Bob was offering this program as a one lump sum payment. And the only way I thought of that I could pay for it was to break it up into 2 payments. Sure. And this wasn't something that was common back then. So I created a proposal. I gave it to the gentleman. He presented to Bob. The
representative, sales guy.
The sales guy.
Sure.
And he presented and said, I don't know if Bob will go for it. It's kind of unusual. Yeah. But he got back with me within a week and said, Bob likes your proposal. And so I was able to get into that mentorship.
Now, the mentorship involved what exactly? Was it on the computer, or were you at something? Tell me a little bit about it before, without going too deep.
So it was all on the phone back then.
I see.
And the things that I got from that program was Bob had us fill out a goal statement. And it was a card, and it said, I'm so happy, grateful, and for me certain, now that I'm making a certain amount of money as a life coach at that time. And so one of the things that Bob really emphasized was to be very clear on your goal. Yeah. And to not get intimidated if you weren't making progress, but to keep it clear, and eventually, if you paid attention, that things would start coming together. You would start finding the resources to achieve that goal.
Great. Now, Bob Proctor was such a magnetic individual. Let's fill our audience in a little bit on him. He was kind of knocking around in his 20s and 30s. It wasn't a terribly successful guy. Yeah. And then he kind of transformed himself, didn't he? And actually got, what was it, an office cleaning business, wasn't it?
Office cleaning business, very good, yeah.
And he did a lot around, you got him into England and kind of went around.
Yeah, just amazing. He started out as a fireman, making $4,000. And then when he started studying with people like Earl Nightingale and people like that, he wrote down a goal of, like, he would have $10,000. And he said a time limit of 20 years. Yeah. But as he started learning the principles of goal setting and law of attraction, within a short period of time, he made over $100,000. Yeah. And he quit the fire department, which nobody did back then. Yeah. Right. Because it was a great job, it was great benefits, and people thought he was kind of crazy for quitting that. Yeah. But he started that cleaning company, and the rest was history.
Yeah. Now, the law of attraction is a fascinating thing. I kind of like to devote almost an entire show to it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a huge idea. But can we kind of synopsize what the law of attraction is? And then I want to talk very briefly and get your opinion about how you would personally coach or counsel a business owner who's kind of struggling with business. The cash flow isn't good, and because of COVID and so on, a lot of things are not coming together. But first of all, let's just synopsize law of attraction. Is it strictly just thinking positive thoughts? I think it's a little more than that.
Well, it is a little bit more than that. It's first of all, it's the clarity of thought.
Yeah.
You have to set a goal that's specific.
Okay.
And measurable, and it has to be out of reach, because if it's within reach, you're within your comfort zone.
I see.
And also, like Bob Proctor emphasized, that you focus on the goal and you focus on finding the resources within yourself,
yes,
and also within your environment and through other people.
Yeah.
But he also talked about the energy level. And he said that you have to put yourself at a higher energy level in order to achieve something greater than what you are.
Yeah.
And a good example of this is, like, when I first thought of that mentorship, I immediately thought, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I heard the price and I said, my thought went, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But you start thinking, okay, first of all, you don't worry about how you can achieve a big goal.
Yeah.
You set the goal, and then you trust, and then you concentrate on how to bring it about, and the resources show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you skipped over the word trust. You just kind of said that real quickly.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it the same as faith in your opinion? Trust and faith. Would you say the same thing?
I would say that that they are the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you mentioned the word high frequency. This is an energy thing that I love to talk about, and I think this is really cutting edge in the world of business. I got to tell you, I did a management training session about a year ago, and I said you have to have more high frequency conversations with your employees.
Absolutely.
And I'm not so sure, they were CPAs, I'm not sure they actually understood where I was coming from on that, but nevertheless, I actually think it's going to be woven into a practicum for managers as time goes on.
Yeah. I would like to recognize a very important distinction between that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people get together and they'll talk about things they want to do.
Right.
But they are talking in terms of, we can't do this, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We don't have these resources.
Yes.
And the whole idea, and what Bob emphasized in his mentorship and in his trainings, is that you talk about how you're going to do it.
Yes.
You start focusing on how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And even when you don't know how you're going to do it, all of a sudden people come up with ideas, people come up with
resources. Come to you.
All of a sudden people go, hey, I know this person over here that can help us, and this other person says, I know how to do this.
Yes.
And pretty soon it's like you have kind of a model for moving forward.
Yes, and so we're attracting resources, energy, people, and so on.
Yes.
We're not exactly sure how it's happening,
right?
But we just have a sense of confidence and commitment, and we don't think about how ridiculous the goal may have seemed a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Now, I know that you reach a lot of business people through your program, Lynn.
Sure.
So I want to talk about a specific coaching session that I had with a businessman the other day. So I was talking with Tommy, and he lives in Spain. And this is a gentleman that has done construction projects, has put together teams of people, and he specialized in being able to help companies that were way off schedule in getting projects done. And he could put together teams of people, come in, and actually finish these projects on time.
Okay, now this is somebody in Spain named Tommy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was telling me that he wanted to really go into life coaching. This was his love, this was his passion. And he said that in the past he would have to go back into construction in order to make money to pay the bills and everything.
Sure.
So focusing on resources and how he could use the resources he had.
Yeah.
He talked about how he was able to talk to business owners that had these construction companies, construction projects.
Sure.
How he was able to help them to organize their thoughts, and how he would convince them to hire him. And anyway, he was able to manage the finances. He was able to hire people to do jobs. He was able to basically run the business, do a lot of he preferred hands-on mostly when he started.
Sure.
But he was able to basically run it like a small business.
So this is kind of a success story about this gentleman. Do you know this guy, Tommy?
This is a person I just met yesterday when I started coaching him.
So you're sharing his story with us here.
So what I wanted to add was everything that he did is related to having a successful coaching practice.
Yes.
So when I started showing him or explaining to him that everything that he did is related to coaching. So for example, when he talks to potential clients, instead of talking about building some construction or constructing a site or anything, he can talk about building their lives. And he can also use the same organizing principles, the same management principles to help mentor somebody to reach their life goals as he could doing the construction.
Absolutely. Now, you know, many companies, and it's a good story, many business owners don't want to talk about that, or at least that doesn't come to mind. They want to talk about the technical, practical, specific, concrete details of their business or their industry. How do you think that a life coach can successfully ease those people into a discussion about, you know, building the principles of your business or your mindset or whatever? How do you get into that dialogue and get them out of 16 items over here and 14 items over there, and get them focused on the concept that you're trying to share?
Well, here's the amazing thing. You know, I've talked to people, and I've coached people from all walks of life. People that were looking for new jobs, people in business, people that were in technical areas like construction.
Sure.
So what I would do, first of all, is I'd help them to recognize what they're already successful at. The things they already enjoy doing.
Got it, okay.
And when they do that, then I say, okay, take those same things that help you to be successful in this area, and then just basically apply them in another area that you think that you're suffering in. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to mention that Tommy, when he first got into construction, knew nothing about construction.
Sure, wow.
And the reason he got into that in the first place is he had bought a house, and he was trying to find people to do some work on his house, couldn't find them, decided he'd go into construction himself, and now he's able to run that as a successful business.
So the principle I hear you saying as we wrap up our interview today is applying principles that you learn in one context and applying them in perhaps a larger context. But the principles are essentially the same.
The principles
so you have
the
rapport with the client. Very good. Ed Green, one of our life coach friends here in the Omaha, Nebraska area, right here on WowBiz Nebraska. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us. I know that increasingly business owners are dealing with stress, as I mentioned before. It's an anxious time in our economy, so utilizing life coaches like you and other people in your industry, incredibly helpful and strategically valuable to get on the management team, sit at the table, and help these guys work through their very private and extremely important issues that they have leading organizations. So I appreciate you coming on here today, and we'll hopefully talk to you again, Ed.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity, Lynn. Always enjoy being here.
Thank you so very much. Ed Green right here in WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. We'll be right back. We've got some exciting news for you during the promotional sector, and then we're going to get on and talk about economic developments, travails, and turbulence right here in Nebraska on the back end of our show. See you soon.
Where can you watch KPAO Community Television? You know, the channel with all of the local shows. If you live in the Omaha area, Cox Channel 22 and 1022 HD is your place. If you prefer streaming, go to kpaoTVOmaha.org. And now, if you have the Apple TV box, grab our app and watch us there. KPAO on cable, streaming live, and now on Apple TV.
This section of WowBiz Nebraska is brought to you by Nebraska Partners, Nebraska Network, the brand new online community innovation ecosystem. You may have heard of it already by now. It's launching full-blown, and we're serving both businesses, 45,000 of them around the entire state of Nebraska, as well as the economic development community, optimizing and augmenting the incredible work that they do. That's Nebraska. We're going to talk about their hook today. Their unique selling proposition, it's something everybody wants to know, so we're going to get into it a little bit, but the overarching idea is embodied right here in this cover of this magazine, or this book right here, by Tom Peters. Some of you might recall Tom Peters, clearly one of the top gurus of the century in modern business today. And of course, this book, you'll see the title right there, is called Reimagine. It's a very interesting theme. Reimagine your business, reimagine your employees, reimagine your operating model, and reimagine the impact that it can have through Nebraska on the entire state of Nebraska. So Reimagine on the cover of this particular magazine, it really kind of embodies almost everything. We've got to unleash our imagination right here in the state of Nebraska. Now, some people will ask me, what do they really do in Nebraska? What's the process? We try to kind of get it distilled down into what I call the 5 E-words, or the E5 success system. The E5 success system for Nebraska. I'm going to take you through that real quickly. It's kind of a planning and collaborative process. It's sequential, that kind of there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So let me share that with you very, very briefly. It's a consulting and coaching service, but we begin with this E-word. E-word number 1 is evaluate. All coaching and consulting operations have to find out, where are we at? Where's the industry at? What's the business model? How are the people and the processes working together? So starting right off the bat, an evaluation. We have to evaluate where we're at right now. And that involves the history, the things that have led up to where we're at right now. Now, the second word is a little less familiar. It's an E-word, of course, as well. It's entwine. Let me say that again, entwine. So once you have a background on what's going on in the industry and the company, you want to entwine yourself with the customer, their perspective, how they think about things, what they're concerned about, what they believe in, the kind of environment they like to hang out in. You've got to weave into their life and figure out, what is it that we can do for you with our product, our company, and so on. So you got to get into their world. You have to entwine the customer. Those are the first 2 E-words, evaluate and entwine. Now, once we get that background, we want to look to the future. We want to envision, that's the E-word, we want to envision the future. That's the third E-word in this E5 system. Now, you know, I get involved with companies all the time that they like who they are and where they're at. Things aren't clicking necessarily, but they kind of like who they are. It's very difficult for them to envision being somebody else or evolving into this or that. And this is a very important step. You have to scan trends, try to figure out what's going on in the world. What if we took a success in another industry, this company over there, brought it over into your company? What would happen if we tweaked it here and there? Would that work? Is there some way that we could make that happen? So we're envisioning the future. Now we're moving into the future. Now the next E-word, it's the 4th in my series of 5 E-words, is innovate. Now it's not innovate, it's E-N-N-O-V-A-T. We love that word. Innovate means usually taking pieces and parts, taking everything apart and then putting it back together in some new configuration, weaving a new feature in, weaving a new benefit in, maybe possibly honing in on a customer type that's different than we're currently servicing. But it's especially good, they call this blue ocean strategy, it's especially good to try to find market segments where your product with a little bit of tweaking could serve a whole bunch of new people that are not being served, don't even know who you are. Bam! It's a huge, huge exponential growth strategy. So that's the 4th, E-N-N-O-V-A-T-E, that's innovate. And then number 5 is so important, and that is energize, right? You want to energize your organization. You want to pull employees together. You want to get them believing in the future. Participation and involvement, task forces, committees, people working together all of a sudden, collaborating, sharing in a very transparent way what their objectives are. I'm trying to get this done this week. Anybody can help me, et cetera, et cetera. This is how you make something happen at this kind of a pivotal moment in our economy today. It's a very strange time, a lot of malaise, a lot of anxiety. People are not sticking their necks out or doing it. Now is the time for a revolution in your industry. Nebraska, I believe, can help you get there with this 5E process. All right. That's Nebraska Partners. Check them out on Nebraska.com. These are sponsors of WowBiz Nebraska, Nebraska, NEWBRASKA.com. Thanks so much to Nebraska for sponsoring this particular show. All right, I'm Lynn Hinterrocker. We're back to the back end of WowBiz Nebraska. I'm going to talk about a fascinating topic. I've been looking at the economic development industry here in the state of Nebraska for 22 years, actually, since 2002, when I brought a concept to the Nebraska Department of Economic Development way back, as I said, in 2002 and 3 and 4. It was called Grassroots Innovation. That was the name of a marketing campaign that kind of glamorized entrepreneurship in the state of Nebraska. I banged on their door for a number of years, couldn't get it done, so I kind of pulled back and tried to figure out how can I make a unique contribution to the state of Nebraska. 10 years ago, I figured out that I can conduct interviews with community leaders, have events, have people come into an auditorium, and we did it all over the entire state and some very small communities like Arlington as well, and ask them, what do they believe in? What's the future of this community? Let's talk about the possibilities that are inherent right here. We put those up on YouTube as a way to attract the young folks that had left the state. They could see these videos and say, you know, that might be interesting to come back there and check out my old hometown. Looks like they're doing something, see? So since then, that was about 10 years ago, since then I've been deeply involved in trying to figure out how Nebraska can recover and kind of get out of this problematic groove with brain drain. We now lose 2,500 to 3,000 very bright young people every year from this state. Put a lot of time and energy into helping these people succeed in their education, then boom, they're gone. People have been whining about this. Whining, I don't know why they leave, it's terrible, it's a bad thing. We lose $1 billion in taxes every 10 years because of this phenomena. Somebody's got to figure out what we're going to do about this. Finally, 3.5 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, I went to Lincoln. I got an organized focus group, got 5 or 6 of these young people who are UNL grads. Some were working, some were just getting ready to leave. They were all committed. They were all committed to leaving the state of Nebraska. Got them all together at Starbucks on O Street in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I said, why? Why are you leaving? What's up? Why is this happening? Your family's here, you got connections. And they laid it out for me. At first they didn't want to get to the bottom line, but we finally got down to the nitty-gritty in terms of this career move. It's a fascinating thing. And it's information, by the way, I have to say that nobody else has what I'm going to share with you right now. Nobody else. The first thing is this. They said, look, there's really 2 things that we want, Lynn. They said, the first thing is that we know business owners in the state of Nebraska are conservative, nice people, wonderful people, grew up around them, but they're traditional. They've been running their business with the same model for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They don't have any intention of changing the way they run the company. Right? And, even though I, did well in school and so on, they're going to put me in the back of the office. I'm going to crunch some numbers. I'm going to do some generic things for the office. And it's probably not going to be a real exciting phase in my career. All right? So that's the first thing. Why do we have to do that? Right? We can go to Colorado Springs. We can go to Louisville, Kentucky, Des Moines, Austin, Portland, Oregon. All those people want us to come out there and lead digital innovation initiatives, Lynn. Why wouldn't we do that? The money's comparable. Why would I want to stay here and crunch numbers and get nothing important done? It's an undeniable point. And it makes people in our state very uncomfortable. They really know that this is true. They're not surprised to hear it. But what do we do, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the second point was this. They said, look, money isn't everything. Work isn't everything. We like to live somewhere. We like to live somewhere that is fun, interesting, a stylish environment, kind of a cool place. Maybe a downtown, that would be ideal. We could walk down the street and go work for somebody down the street. We don't have to pollute the air driving up and down in the car on a freeway. That's our idea of a good life, right? That's our idea of a good life. Leading initiatives, being respected, being asked to provide input at every turn in a business culture, serving social responsibility, serving people in the entire community, not just trying to make a buck, make a check, and allow our boss to bank a profit. There's more to business than that, right? But we also want to have a good time, you know. We want to do something in a cool environment. And those are the two things, Lynn, that we can't find here. We can't seem to find places like that here. So I've made a lot of notes. And since then, I've talked to a lot of people across the state, some more economic development leaders, struggling with the fact that they're really good at grant writing or site selection and so on, but now all of a sudden they're in the talent attraction business. Well, this is marketing, right? Who are we talking to? What do they believe in? What are their values? What's their hot button? What motivates them to do this or go there? They don't know. They don't know. There's no preparation for any of that. So we are ill prepared. We don't know what we're selling exactly. We don't know who we're selling it to. And we're setting ourselves up, even though we're trying to initiate and do some important breakthrough things, we may be setting ourselves up for a little bit of failure because 25-year-olds have a distinct idea about what a great career is all about, and it's far different than city council members, 60, 65 years old. They are working in different planets, on different ideas, and their vision of the future is extremely different. This is the gap. This is the gap I'm stepping into, ladies and gentlemen. Right here in WowBiz, Nebraska, I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. I got to tell you, this is a fascinating, classic example of generational tension. Things are going flat to down throughout the entire state in many different ways, although we've had some successes. But in general, we are less competitive than where we need to be. We're number 37, number 38 in terms of business development, start of new companies, right? And frankly, as was told to us by Hank Robinson at Metropolitan Community College, the researcher there, he said, top tier students, top tier professionals don't even think about Nebraska. We're not even on their plate. We're not even close to competing. So this is a massive transition. Economic development people don't know exactly what to do. Marketing is not exactly the thing that most of them were chosen to be good at. Outsiders are coming in trying to optimize, augment, try to help in some particular way. Here's the target audience. This is what they want to hear from you. This is what they're looking for. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker right here in WowBiz, Nebraska. Thank you so much. And thank you, Tom Peters, for helping us remember how important it is to reimagine the future, reimagine the company, reimagine our state. Come back and see us again. We'll see where we're at next time around. Thanks again for watching.